Good morning, everyone. I hope you have recovered from the cocktail night last night. I'm surprised there's so many of you. Did you try the Slovak wine? Did you try the Czech beer? Did you try the cocktails? I hope you all did. But I'm very happy that you're all here now because it's the last day, but we have a full show for the next 4 hours here on the Albright stage, at the Schwarzenberg stage, at the Havel stage as well. There are many different things. It's going to be about AI in journalism. It's going to be about the war situation in the Atlantic, in the Pacific. And it's one panel that I'm particularly looking forward to on the Havel stage. It's about how to return Ukraine's stolen kids. It's going to be later today. Worth looking out for that one as well. And then, of course, we all wrap up at 12:50 on the main stage. Don't worry, you will be hungry that time. There is a brilliant lunch going on as well. Now, though, I want to give the floor to the super moderator from Brussels, Chris Burns, who's going to talk about the middle corridor. I'm going to enjoy this, Chris. Good luck. Huh?
Ricard, dziękuję bardzo. Thank you very much. Thank you. A big hand to Ricard, too, for doing this great job. He's a great colleague, journalist colleague, also in Brussels. You're still in Brussels, right?
Local.
Yeah, okay. Let me introduce the speakers who are coming on now. You just saw Hikmet Hajiyev, Assistant to the President of Azerbaijan and Head of the President's Foreign Affairs Department. Eleonora, buongiorno. Eleonora Tafuro Ambrosetti, Senior Research Fellow. Russia, Caucasus, and the Central Asia Center, Italian Institute for International Policy Studies, or as many call it, ISPI, right?
Right.
And also Hüseyin Bağcı, professor, Middle East Technical University, METU, also founder of Ankuda, the Ankara Global Advisory Group since 2024. It's great to see so many people here. And also, I'm sure, hopefully, streaming, hello everybody out there. After last night's reception, I didn't expect to see half as many people. What do you think? Don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, please have a seat.
Should I sit here?
Yeah, please, yeah, that's great.
Where are you sitting?
It's festival seating, wherever you want to go. It's great, like all of you, too. And I guess, let's see. Right, we've got the pictures. The title of this is The Middle Corridor, a New Geopolitical and Economic Lifeline, ? Now, I think events like this, they're very careful about, there we go, commanding chaos. That's the main part. But, you know, GlobeSec and others are careful about saying whether it is or not. So they put a question mark on this. But I think it is a new geopolitical lifeline. I think that's what we're talking about. And here, thank goodness, I asked them to put this up. Take a look at that. That is the corridor. And the difference is, why is it a middle corridor? Because the northern corridor, since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, there are many countries that want to avoid that. So that's the northern corridor. The southern corridor is down through the Suez Canal, and of course going through, trying to brave through rockets from Houthi rebels and so forth. So this middle corridor has become an even more important route. And that's what we're going to be talking about in these next 50-ish minutes. The middle corridor, born of new Eurasian geopolitics, says a geopolitical monitor of Canada, to insulate global supply chains from geopolitical risk. There are challenges, of course, infrastructure bottlenecks, especially crossing the Caspian Sea. Operational inefficiencies and geopolitical challenges, of course. What about investment? So, here to speak about that are Hüseyin, Hikmet, and Eleonora. Tech tips, I guess, right, you heard maybe some of this before, but there's a roving mic if you want to do this analog, but you can also send in questions via Slido, right? And keep in mind when you hear a good line, hashtag GlobeSec 2025, GlobeSec 2025, if you hear a good line. Let's get started. Let's try, starting with Hüseyin, you know, how will this corridor reshape Eurasian politics?
Thank you, Chris. First of all, this middle corridor and all the corridors in the Middle East, including the new development road, which is going also via Iraq, Turkey is a geopolitical asset in this respect for the entire projects there, and Turkey's biggest advantage is that Turkey appears as the security provider, not security consumer in this part of geography. And when you look to the map, you see, like Rome, all the ways lead not to Rome, but to Turkey. Europe.
Yeah.
Via Turkey.
Via Turkey.
Turkey is like a pipeline, if you want.
Yeah.
If you want to get from one bottle to another, you have to connect it. And Turkey's connectivity is geopolitically, geostrategically, geoeconomically, is in such a situation. In the last 10 years, I participated at least 10, 20 conferences like this, starting from Shanghai discussions about the Silk Road and all these corridors, and I became so expert on the corridors. Even Darun Acemoğlu's book, The Narrow Corridor, has also interested me, because without corridors, it's very difficult to transfer from one place to another, whether you take it from the east to the west or from west to the east. I was also in Zhongqing in China, where the train is taking all the goods to Duisburg, to Germany. And Turkey is now one of the key components, whether it's Russia, China, Iran, Middle East countries, Gulf countries, whatever country you take, there is, by nature, this geopolitical, geostrategic location of Turkey increases the value of Turkey in the coming years also. As President Truman, even in 1945, before World War II, he said, all the ways, air, sea, and land, go through Turkey. This is why Turkey was taken into NATO, into the geostrategic calculations of the United States of America as the emerging new power. And whenever you take these four power centers, using Kissinger's terminology, America, Russia, China, and the European Union, Turkey is now having the relations in a different way, revisited all the relations, and those countries' perception of Turkey is maybe much more important than we assume in our perception.
Well, okay, before we get to the reality check, this is all very upbeat, great. Hikmet, can I get from you too, what is the geopolitical impact of this for Azerbaijan?
Thank you, Chris, and good morning, everybody. And nice to be here in the GlobeSec, and thank you also for such an interesting topic on the Middle Corridor. And let me highlight Azerbaijan's vision with regard to the Middle Corridor and how we see. First of all, a road is in a culture for us, as it's since ancient time. And road is in a civilization, and more than that, road is a dialogue of the civilizations for us. And from that perspective, Azerbaijan historically located on the ancient Silk Road. And we have been enriched, and we also contributed along with the dialogue of the civilization on the ancient Silk Road. Second component is a geography. We are stationed on the crossroads between east-west and also north-south. But when Azerbaijan got as an independence, we understood that these two components are important, but they are not enough. We should transform our geography and also historical practice and experience into the new opportunities, and also considering the fact that Azerbaijan is a landlocked country, and we try to transform an outsource of our landlockedness into the land-linkedness. And from that perspective, Azerbaijan started its a journey and to building the connectivity lines and also building the East-West corridor. One can call it East-West corridor, Middle corridor, Trans-Caspian corridor, but it doesn't matter. Important thing about the route that we are building. But we started that process and based on the 5 or 6 important parameters. And it's just only for us as a transport delivering the cargo from the point A to B. First, we started energy connectivity and energy corridor. That was Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan, Baku-Tbilisi-Supsa, that linked Caspian Sea with the Black Sea and also Mediterranean Sea.
While you're talking about that, can we put that map back up for a little bit, if possible? Yeah, please.
Second component where we worked is about highways and the land routes. And we built we did our homework, and we built our highways and motorways, but it's not enough that you're having your highways and motorways. You should also link with the neighboring countries. And a third component is about a maritime route. And we linked Caspian Sea with the Central Asian brothers and partners. And we said that Caspian Sea is not a dividing, but unifying factor. As a result of which, we also linked with the 4 seas, Caspian Sea, Black Sea, Mediterranean Sea, and also Trans-Adriatic pipeline. Now we are linking also Adriatic Sea. And yet another tier, and we call it Air Silkway. That is building the air capabilities, air cargo capabilities of Azerbaijan. Now Azerbaijan has 9 operational airports, and also Azerbaijan has one of the biggest air fleet in the region. Now we are also working yet to another important components. Let me just highlight that one as well. Last 2 important component is a digital silkway, but we are building the new high-speed internet linkage through the Eurasian continent, through the Caspian Sea with our Kazakhstani partners. And last but not least, it's a renewable corridor, but we are working currently on that, but also takes the renewable energy potential of the Caspian Sea region via the Black Sea to the Europe. All in all, it's a connectivity and also east-west corridor concept of Azerbaijan, how we see.
Let me take a part of this route with you, Eleonora. You've seen the Baku-Tbilisi Karls Railway. You saw it begin and build. And since the Ukraine war, since the full Russian invasion, it's become even more important, right? By how much? 60%, was it?
Absolutely. So this is sometimes called the logistic backbone of the Middle Corridor. And I was in Turkey when it was opened, and it was absolutely a major success for Ankara, but also for Azerbaijan and Georgia. And it was the clear example of how these three countries collaborated together and had a wonderful working relationship.
So it existed for a long time already.
Yeah, absolutely. But of course, the geopolitical contingencies, let's say, linked to the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine, accelerated and put the sense of urgency also on the part of the European Union to avoid the Northern Corridor. I am 100% with Hüseyin, Professor Bağcı, when he says that this project really gives a new sense of geostrategic importance to Turkey. And this is echoed also in the Caucasus and Central Asian countries, which use and want to use this project to become more geostrategic relevant, and also to sort of detach themselves from the image of being just the neighborhood of Russia, or like, you know.
Central Asia is sort of separate from everything else, right? It's not. You know,
Absolutely. Well, we were talking about Azerbaijan being a landlocked country. Uzbekistan is a double landlocked country. So even the neighbors are landlocked. So for Tashkent, for example, this project is a fantastic opportunity also to boost intra-regional trade. And in fact, we saw the Uzbekistan-Turkmenistan free trade agreement signed just recently.
Right. And who's interested in this? Europe, the EU, and China as well, right? They both want that kind of a route. It's for China, it's part of the Silk Road, the infrastructure projects, right? You had, in Baku in March, you had a roundtable on that.
Exactly.
Right. So how does that serve both, or are both China and the EU competing, or is this common ground for them to cooperate?
Baku-Tbilisi cars, let me highlight a couple of remarks. One of the component, we call it the Iron Silk Road, because the railroad component is also along the points that I have highlighted. Yeah. But Azerbaijan invested to build within a Baku-Tbilisi cars railway, and we recently put an additional investment to having a cargo handling capacity from 1 million tons to 5 million tons. And along with that, we also investing additionally to the Baku ports to raise its capabilities of handling 15 million to 25 million tons. Well, we are preparing ourselves, the dynamism of the trade in the region. Instead, your question absolutely is right, and we are seeing ourselves and Middle Corridor as an important linkage between two important economic powerhouses. That's in the European Union and China. Annual trade between European Union and China is beyond 700 billion euros whatsoever.
So you see it complementary. It's not two competing.
One belt, one
even
road
though they are competing.
They could compete, but we don't see the competition. We see their cooperation.
Yeah.
But from our perspective, what we see with Belt and Road Initiative and also EU's Global Gateway Initiatives, quite frankly, I still have a difficulty to understand what could be applicability to our region, but we see more synergy between two concepts, and we would like to see more cooperation and collaboration. But we are doing our homework. It's another question that in our discussion with our EU friends, that somebody shouldn't have such an impression that there is no Middle Corridor, or somebody should come and to build a new Middle Corridor for us. Middle Corridor is there.
It's
Middle
there.
Corridor is operational. Azerbaijan is investing. Our partners are investing. But here, our partners can also come and join and to get benefit on.
It's there, but there's a lot of stuff lacking. There are bottlenecks, and this is where there needs help from. The EU has this Traseka project to develop the this is alphabet soup, typically EU, TITR, Trans-Caspian International Transport Route, TITR, right? Yeah. And the European project is Traseka, and you also had a meeting in March, I believe, on that too. You need that help, right? that investment?
No, I would rather say we don't need a help. We need a cooperation and partnership.
Okay.
Because we have on our investment capabilities, and we have a regional cooperation with our Brazil and sisterly countries. Look at Turkey, Azerbaijan, and via Georgia built our Baku-Tbilisi cars. Quite frankly, when we started this project, European and American funds and stopped from funding that project. But we said that, okay, that's not a good, but we'll do with our funds.
Yeah.
And we have implemented that project. And we also linked all our major infrastructure, transport infrastructure system with our Central Asian brothers. And we do it. Yes, there are certain difficulties. In every transport system, you may have any difficulties, but along with the hardware component, we are working on the software component as well. And imagine that from one point, if you look at a map, Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Turkey, we are doing our homework, and we are linking also with our Central Asian friends. And then China, together with Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, building their railway system, and it will also make a 900-kilometer shortcut reaching to the Central Asia. Through the Trans-Caspian, we are linking all of these processes. But my question is that, where is the European Union? Yes, you, as a partner, you can join us, but still we don't see certain clarity what the European Union wants.
So you're saying Traseka is not going far enough?
Traseka is an important project to an extent. It's contributed, but it's a little bit old wine in the old bottle. We need a new wine in a new bottle, and new approach and new strategic thinking.
Could that be a hashtag GlobeSec 2025, maybe? Right? Maybe. Let me come back to Eleonora. A little bit of reality check here, because there are bottlenecks, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I don't want to be the party pooper here.
Well,
but,
no, we got to be realistic, right? And how
but there are indeed some issues with the whole project. I mean, we were talking about the investment needed, and I really agree that the EU doesn't have to go there with the suitcases of money, like in a sort of patronizing way, just giving aid.
No, but it's going to cost billions to
18
upgrade.
billion. 18 billion euros, according to the European Bank for BRD. So the problem, it's not just that it's more costly. I mean, the transporting goods from through the Middle Corridor at the moment is costlier than doing it through the Northern Corridor. And I saw some estimates, for instance, 40 food container, the price of transporting a 40 food container range from $3,500 and $4,500 in the Middle Corridor compared to
for what?
$2,800 through the Middle Corridor.
Per container.
Per container,
Yeah.
40-foot container.
Yeah.
So it's more expensive. There are environmental problems, as you said. You mentioned the Caspian Sea, and we have indeed lowering sea levels. So we have a problem with water, basically.
Right.
But people point out also at strong winds, like weather, harsh winters, weather conditions, etc. We have problems with the tax systems, discrepancies in the tax systems, in the customs, in regulations. We have problems with the digitalization, and that could lead also to some shady trade links and corruption.
Businesses don't like that, yeah.
The European Union, and I'll stop here, has really one concern, that the Middle Corridor becomes somehow co-opted by Russia, and the sanctioned good that shouldn't reach Moscow go through the Middle Corridor.
Right. So yeah, what about those? So let's hear it from Hüseyin.
Thank you. First of all, I'm also a realist, and we make reality check. I can contribute for this. First of all, competition or cooperation, both are very complementary. It's like Champions League games. Everybody is competing in order to get the cup. But the fair game is important here. If everybody is working in a fair way, then everybody is making use of it. And European Union is definitely showing now more interest. As recently, Madame von der Leyen was in Samarkand, and indeed, she came with a lot of money there, but don't exaggerate the investment of European Union, 18 billion. Sokar, Azeri company, invested in Turkey $20 billion. So there is a lot of money, actually. The question is here the political will and the economic perspective. How do you see that this connectivity, as per Kana, from CNN. He was writing this wonderful book, Connectivity. Do we have connectivity in the future, or do we try to prevent? And the Chinese and Russians at the moment are two important countries. Russia is definitely the loser at the moment because the influence is getting less and less, whereas China is, as the second biggest economy in the world, has a much more different perspective to this area. And old wine in the new bottle probably would be the new topic. The Chinese perspective is important because the Chinese economy needs to export. Without export, Chinese economy cannot survive. It's not domestic production only. And all these countries in the map, wonderful map, I would say, maybe you should just put also Armenia in it, how the Armenia should also be part of this Caucasian connectivity.
Okay, that's interesting because we got a Slido question on that, and that's been burning in my head since I saw Prime Minister Pashinyan yesterday make that suggestion, actually. And he put the map up. He put his own map up, right? In that talk, right, with Maria Tadeo yesterday. I don't know if any, how many were you there watching Pashinyan? It was very interesting, wasn't it? But his portrayal of it, he called it the peace corridor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. Let's, Hikmet, what do you think? What do you think?
Okay. But before coming to Armenia's side and approach, let me add also another point, as Eleonora mentioned, and also in complementarity to Dr. Hüseyin. Really, with regard to the middle corridor, we are not in beauty contest. That to say that middle corridor is one of the best one. And we are doing it, first of all, for our own interest. Okay. Because I told you, we are a landlocked country, and in our region, there is a landlockedness, and we would like to have an outreach and connectivity that we are building and doing our homework together. And also another point here is that in the middle corridor, there is not only the point from A to Z, and between A to Z, there are different varieties and geopolitical variables as well.
And so then why not through Armenia?
Yes, before coming to that point. And here another question is about the European Union. And really, we are doing our homework and we are building our connectivity. The question is that if European Union wants to use that for the European business, and I think that, and we think that from the region, yes, EU also needs that to have more accessibility, more connectivity. Simple share economics and business says that if you have more connectivity, it's for your best interest. Therefore, if European Union comes as a partner, that's fine. If not, then it's a choice of the European Union. But we think that it's the best interest of everybody, and we also, in a transport dialogue, having such a discussion with our EU friends. But regardless of this fact, we will continue to do our homework with our regional partners because it's also in our best interest. And when it comes to Armenia's approach, with a crossroad approach or crossroad, piece of the crossroad or the different variations are coming, I would say it's a little bit too little too late approach. Too little too late in a sense that when Azerbaijan's territories were under the occupation, we always talked about the connectivity as part of the conflict resolution process. Now conflict is resolved. By the way, it's yet another important component of the connectivity and middle east-west corridor, that you should also have a security and stability for full and effective functioning of the corridors.
Okay.
Therefore, it's yet another credit really my country should take. We have established a full security and stability in the region. Armenia can be part of the regional mainstream discussions and mainstream transport linkages as well.
It is possible. It's not
Is it possible? Currently, we are discussing with Armenia as well. It's not in our intention to see any marginalization and isolation in the region. Okay. But in the meantime, Armenia, we also have a certain expectation from Armenian side. What I said that too little too late in a sense that for 30 years, Armenia kept Nakhchivan region of Azerbaijan under the blockade. Now we expect that Armenia should make a first important step through the Zengezur corridor. I know that my Armenian colleagues have some irritation to the word of corridor. I'm always joking saying that I would like to see entire territory of Azerbaijan being a corridor. Okay, call it pathway, whatever they like it, but we would like first to have a connectivity to Nakhchivan because for 30 years we have been deprived from the opportunity. Once there is a linkage to the Nakhchivan, I think that there could open be yet another opportunities for Armenia as well. But we would like to see also Armenia part of the regional mainstream transport.
Okay, as well. So it's not too late. It's never say never. It's there's a possibility. So, Eleonora, how important is this sort of reconciliation, Armenia, Turkey, but also Azerbaijan?
It is absolutely important, both like for the regional stability per se, and because we badly need a success story, right, in the current context with the negotiations in Ukraine stalling basically because of Russia, but also because political stability is needed for investment. We need investment, right, and this puts investors back. The possible, I hope not, God forbid, return of war, but lack of war, which we have today. Armenia and Azerbaijan agreed on a text, but the text is not signed and it's not even implemented, obviously. So lack of war is not enough. We need peace. And this could be like the perfect peace dividend, like having connectivity projects, bringing prosperity to everybody.
Now, I'd just like to throw something in here, too, because lack of war. Well, there's a hot war right there on the doorstep between Israel and Iran. How much does that kind of throw a spanner in the works of what you want to do?
Before answer this one, Armenia has two options. Either Armenia makes cooperation and get prosperity, or keeps its nationalism as before, then they live in poverty. There is no way out. 50-50, poverty versus prosperity. So there should be a peace, and there are a lot of projects. And since 1992, when the Black Sea Economic Cooperation was established, Armenia was rejecting to participate in all these projects. Now it is changing of times. Armenia should also change its mind to get more integrated, connected. And what happens in Iran is very interesting also. Definitely the Zangezur corridor, as Mr. Hajiyev was talking rightly, is making many things easier. What Iran was resisting, of course, the Turkish-Iranian competition. Not necessarily cooperation. The Iranians, we have been just a couple of weeks ago in Tehran Dialogue Forum, and we saw there also the readiness that Iran is also recognizing because of China, that to cooperate, not compete necessarily, but to cooperate would also be in the interest of Iran. Two countries, Iran and Armenia, are very close, as we know, but both have one option. Prosperity, if they want, they have to join. They have to cooperate. Otherwise, we will see. We academics, we have good ideas, but we have no political will. I can provide a lot of ideas, but how the politicians will decide whether their nations will stay poor or prosper, this is their problem, not academic problem.
Okay, Eleonora, please.
Well, I totally agree, but I think like the Pashinyan's government has made it clear that they want peace, and they want peace with Azerbaijan, and they want their border to be opened with Turkey, and that's why normalization with Turkey is so important, also from the European standpoint. And having you, Professor Bağcı, taking a selfie with Pashinyan yesterday brings me hope for the normalization of the process.
It is true. The border should be opened as soon as possible, as we saw this during the earthquake. I mean, I have been in Armenia twice, and why do we fly to Armenia via Vienna? From Istanbul is directly 1 hour, 15 minutes. Why? Thousands of people can go and come back and prosper together. Caucasus would become like the so-called praline empires, Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg. So we missed a lot of opportunities in this part of the world. So look to the future from a different angle. As Henry Kissinger says, if you are on the wrong side of the history, change the position of your chair and look from this perspective. And this is the question now, whether it will be the case or not.
The Benelux of Central Asia, right?
Yes. Allow me a couple of remarks.
Yes, Hikmet, please.
Armenia and Azerbaijan. You know, with regard to the connectivity through the Armenia, yet another point yet that we asked our Armenian counterparts, that you should also prove your commercial viability. Because Azerbaijan has already built also a linkage through the regional countries, whether it's in Georgia, and currently we are working through the Iran as well. And now Armenia should make it commercially viable and attractive that passage through the territory of Armenia could also be economically viable. And we are still expecting from that perspective, but good thing is that through the bilateral channels, we are working with Armenia on many different chapters that we have. One of them is a peace treaty, border delimitation, and some other issues. On the peace treaty, that has been also subject to a discussion in yesterday's deliberations. And yes, text has been agreed. Still, we have pending issues, but through the bilateral channels, we are working on that as well.
What about Kazakhstan? And I've been to Kazakhstan recently and covered, had a show actually on the dynamism of lots of companies and so forth. Great. But there is also, I think, the point about the ports there on the Caspian, that especially since this upswing in trade, in shipping, they can't keep up. These ports need to be improved. How much is that an issue? How much is that a bottleneck? Who wants to comment on that?
With our Central Asian brothers, you know what, Central Asia and Azerbaijan, we always call it, it's not a matter of the mathematics 5 + 1, it's a matter of the chemistry, it's a 6. Because Central Asia and Azerbaijan, we are sharing the historical relationship, religion, culture, ethnicity, language, and so on. And based on those parameters, and today Central Asia and Azerbaijan relationship have been further deepened and further enhanced. With our Central Asian friends and partners, we are currently working on multidimensional cooperation. One of them is in a connectivity, because Central Asia is in a landlocked region as well. And of course, an important dimension is in a Trans-Caspian. And Caspian Sea, in this case, is not just dividing, but unifying factor.
On your side, you've got a lot of development. I mean, Baku and so forth. Those ports
on the Kazakhstan
are very
side
developed.
as well. On the Kazakhstan side as well, and Kazakhstan is also hugely investing on their ports capabilities. But important thing now, we are linking our ports, and Azerbaijan puts an additional investment also in a cargo fleet on the Caspian Sea as well. But along with a hardware component, and colleagues have already mentioned, we are working on the software component as well. Not just waiting for somebody come and teach us, but we are working on that.
The digital side,
the digitalization concept and harmonization of the taxes and customs system, and also one door and one window concept has been applied, and it shows and it works. And we also see in the steady growth of the volume of the cargoes are coming from the Central Asian countries, but vice versa true as well. Through the Black Sea, and the international companies are also shipping their cargoes through the Middle Corridor to Central Asia as well. Let me also highlight another point that, with regard to the concept of Azerbaijan, that I've tried to elaborate, and also Dr. Hüseyin mentioned our neighbors. Indeed, you know, when the conflict was over, Azerbaijan came up with an initiative of 3+3. And that was always a vision of Azerbaijan. First, with regard to the connectivity, that we are a landlocked country, but we understood that in our neighborhoods, 3 our big neighbors, whether it's Brazil, Turkey, and Russia, and Iran, they have an open access to the international oceans and the seas. And we call it like outsourcing capabilities. In a sense, building the linkages with our neighbors, we had a full accessibility to the open seas. For example, Baku-Tbilisi-Kars railway system, and we ending up in Kars. Via the Kars, we're entering Turkish railway system. Via Turkish railway system, all ports of the Turkey are in front of us. And we are also working, but now currently we have a little bit difficulty with Russia and Iran North-South corridor as well. It links in a Gulf with the St. Petersburg port of Russia. But it's a little bit double difficulty for Azerbaijan because from one side there is a Russia-Ukrainian war, from another side Iran and Israel war, and we of course expected such a development, unfortunately, and we somehow prepared ourselves for the new tsunamis that may come from the Middle East. Along with the wars, 2 of our neighbors are under the sanctions as well. It's another puts another difficulty. But important thing is in the context of the peace, that there is a peace and stability in the region of the South Caucasus. Azerbaijan did a lot to ensure the current peace and stability. Conflict is over, war is over. We are working on the peace agenda. Importantly, there is a new status quo in the Caucasus. That is a status quo based on the legitimacy, legality, and international law. Previous status quo, unfortunately, was based on the fact of occupation. That's nowhere.
All right. Eleonora, while you comment, can I ask if anybody has a question, please? Get a mic over here. Yes, Eleonora.
I just wanted to highlight the importance of this North-South corridor that was mentioned, because this is also like a project that was sort of shelved a bit, and then it came back with the war against Ukraine, because Russia really wanted to create new routes, and this corridor should link Russia to India via Azerbaijan, Iran. But of course, the 2 main sponsors of this corridor are Russia and Iran, the most sanctioned countries in the world. So, to be honest, I don't think this project will have more success than the middle corridor.
Okay, there's a reality check. We have a question here, please.
Thank you very much. I'm Stepan Safarian from Armenia. Just thank you very much for this interesting discussion. Yesterday, Armenia's Prime Minister was very, very positive, signaling Azerbaijan in terms of establishing peace and connectivity. You're right, Mr. Moderator, just referring to the map that was shown here.
Thank you.
And now, apparently, Azerbaijan's reaction is that Armenia is too late in terms of connectivity.
But the door's still open, I think, right, Hikmet? So, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Well, I'm happy at least that there is some small window for Armenia. But I would like to recommend Mr. Hajiyev that if not the entity, if not the region as an entity, then of course EU and others will be very cautious, because the region itself is of strategic importance as an entity, not as independent countries.
So this is more a statement than a question then here, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm coming to my question.
Okay.
What you referred to some pending issues, Mr. Hajiyev, but yesterday again, Mr. Pashinyan was very, very clear in terms of the concerns that Azerbaijan has regarding to different things. So can you elaborate a little bit more what you understand under these pending issues? Because till now we know that the major issue that Azerbaijan raised this January by the president of Azerbaijan was again territorial claim against Armenia, and just claim for so-called Zangezur corridor with Nakhichevan, which has never been enclave, as you said, or isolated, because it has at least 2 foreign borders with Iran and Turkey. Thank you very much.
Is Mr. Aliyev ready to cut a deal, in other words?
Really, first thing that we should take that Azerbaijan has transformed the region of the South Caucasus. That we should be very clear. And now we have in a positive situation, a new status quo in the region. Unfortunately, it doesn't come through the goodwill of Armenian side, because Azerbaijan invested 30 years negotiation process, but without any particular results. But it's in the past. Now we have a real peace in the region. There is a de facto peace on Armenia and Azerbaijan. There is a calmness. And if you put it in the wider context of what is happening in the world, I think that South Caucasus is comparatively one of the most stable regions in the world, and in our neighborhood and in the broader global sense. That's a first positive sign. Secondly, on a bilateral channel, we are working with our Armenian counterparts, and it also proved itself quite efficient, whether it's a border delimitation, whether it's in a transport connectivity issues, peace agenda. By the way, peace treaty has been drafted in Baku. Yeah. And the fundamental principles of the peace treaty has been elaborated in Baku and presented to Armenian side. It once again demonstration of the political willingness of Azerbaijan to transform the region of the South Caucasus. Now, with regard to the open issues, yes, we agreed on the text of the peace treaty, but 2 important issues that matter for Azerbaijan. Of course, we understand that any constitutional framework is a part of the internal political dynamism in every country, but once in the constitution there is a reference to the territory of another country, it becomes a matter of the concern. Because we know about the declaration on the national independence of Armenia, that's also in the preamble of the Armenian constitution, and that also calls for the miatsum. Miatsum in Armenian language is a unification of Karabakh with Armenia. And we are not acting in diplomatic limbo. Look at in a Good Friday Agreement in 1998, when Republic of Ireland and United Kingdom signed a Good Friday Agreement. It also urged and called for the change of the constitution of the Republic of Ireland, which had territorial claims on the Northern Ireland. It has been changed, now have a comprehensive treaty, peace treaty. Yeah, well, that's also Azerbaijan's approach, that if we are talking about the peace, not just in a peace having between 2 governments, and we would like to have a peace with the Armenian people in a very comprehensive and strategic manner. Therefore, such a exclusion of such a clause from the legislative and legal framework of Armenia, I think that will ease all impediments on our way. Second issue, I don't think that it's so important, but it has a psychological effect about a completely dysfunctional relic of the history, that's a Minsk group, and I still have a difficulty to understand why Armenian side is dragging it. I think that it's in a time to make a joint appeal to the OSCE, completely abolishing with the unnecessary dysfunctional, that's called also completely diplomatic failure of the Minsk group.
So the ball is in Mr. Pashinyan's court, as far as you're concerned. Yes, as far and I consider you almost an éminence grise of Mr. Aliyev. Please, Hüseyin.
As Turkey, I would suggest Armenians and Azeris come to Istanbul. We are both landlocked. In Istanbul, at the Bosphorus, we have fish and raki and wine and talk. You are too much landlocked indeed, also in your minds. Look to the perspective. Since 1992, Black Sea Economic Cooperation was established in order to provide that those countries who have nothing to do with the Black Sea should have the platform to come to talk. 33 years. No, they were not able to come together. Now make the chance. Use it. In the Tehran Dialogue Forum, your National Security Director was speaking in a way, you can check it, wonderful. Now, you have two alternatives. Either you have the peace or further conflict. This is up to you. The second one, I would suggest, is Turkey is providing platform, not only to Russians and Ukrainians, but in this case also to both of you. Iran is an important country now. You have both these relations. And look what happens in Iran. What will be in the Middle East? So our position should be not the prisoner of the past. Look to the future. And you have a new generation in your country, in Azerbaijan, and in the entire Central Asia. Look to the new generation's expectations. What they want. Do they just stay there and having only the nationalistic tendencies, or do they want to get more globalized? So it is the responsibility of the politics, not of the academics. You have two chances, prosperity or poverty. It's up to you.
Okay, Hüseyin, point well said. I didn't think we'd make mention of Rocky this morning, but that's fantastic. Fear of the dog that bit you. Yes, please.
Good morning, everyone. Rosen Plevele is my name. I'm former president of Bulgaria, 2012-2017. As we see very well on the map, the middle corridor, it just comes to Bulgarian border, Bulgarian-Turkish border.
Let's
what
put
we
this
see,
map. Can you put the map back up? This is important.
Extreme dynamism. Let me give you just some facts, because even myself, I was surprised when I was preparing for that panel. Just 3 months ago, Bulgaria and Turkey announced the cross-border point between us as the biggest land cross-border point in the world.
Yep.
It's more busy than the one between Mexico and United States.
Ah.
That's true.
Really?
And we agreed together with the European Commission, it's going to be built up even to new capacity. So we see extreme dynamism. Speaking on the connections, the European Commission has agreed with us. We built to high-speed rail standards the connection from Turkey to Serbian border. We're building safety parking, 14 locations on the Bulgarian-Turkish-Serbian connection with European money. As you see over there, it's the Bulgarian border over there. We see a lot of countries not sleeping, extremely active on the middle corridor. For example, Romania, Bulgaria, and many others have signed to the energy corridor. By the way, it's decreasing and not increasing Russian influence. Gazprom was blackmailing us. They stopped from 100 to 0 deliveries to Bulgaria on a certain day. It was the middle corridor that was saving us, bringing competitive gas to us long term. It is a lot of countries, 11 in Central and Southeast Europe. On the digital, 2. On the green corridor from Hungary to Bulgaria to Romania, we signed up. We're working, it works. So nobody is sleeping.
Do you have a question for the panel, or is this a statement?
My question is not a question, it's just thank you, Turkey. Thank you, Azerbaijan, for understanding the importance of the middle corridor. Continue the good job. Thank you.
Then we should also say thank you, Bulgaria, for the cooperation.
No, but one thing
Armenia should join.
One thing that hasn't emerged yet from the discussion is that not only it's like geopolitically important, but like it's a shorter route. Like the time for shipping is half the time that it would take through the northern corridor. And there was a question about the
cost.
Figures,
can I read that to you? Yeah. Eleonora, could you please clarify the price differences of containers per different routes? Middle corridor, Russia, on sea from China to Hamburg, Rotterdam.
Yeah, I don't have estimates on the sea passage, but the estimate I was quoting was comparing the cost of shipping through the middle corridor from shipping through the northern corridor. And with the middle corridor, it's roughly $1,000 more expensive per container. So there is still
big price, big price difference.
Big gap, yeah.
But I think one of your talking points, I think, was that much as we said about the interest of the European Commission and the EU in this, and energy union and so forth, they're not enough on the dance floor in the region, right? Is that what you're suggesting, that there should be more commitment?
There should be more commitment, but I think like we're going in the right direction.
Okay.
As I think it was Hüseyin was quoting von der Leyen's speech in Samarkand, and I think the EU is really putting this middle corridor project at the center of its regional policy.
But are we seeing the money behind that?
Probably not yet. But I think like we're getting there. I think there is a realization in Brussels that this is the project that has to be financed and boosted in order both to have like a gateway, like to diversify away from like routes going through Russia, but also to boost regional stability, and that is why it's like it's going to be like at the center of the EU's South Caucasus and Central Asia policy.
Right, that Traseka should support TTER and so forth. The alphabet soup. I think we have a question here, please. You can stand up and tell us your name, rank, serial
Hi, I'm
number.
Glenn Howard, president of the Saratoga Foundation, and
Welcome.
my question is for Hikmet. Mr. Witkoff traveled to Baku and met with Azeri officials, stopped there momentarily, and my question is about the U.S. role for in the region and the prospects for Azerbaijan joining the Abraham Accords, which would be a huge strategic achievement for Azerbaijan. And what do you foresee for the U.S. role? Would Azerbaijan's relationship with the Abraham Accords help deepen or improve relations with the United States? So thank you.
Good question, especially considering the context right now.
Thank you. With the current administration of the United States, and we indeed see a lot of opportunity to transform and to elevate United States-Azerbaijan's relationship to qualitatively new level. And we think that there is a possibility to reach to the point of the strategic partnership with the current administration. And unfortunately, with the Biden administration, we couldn't have too much chemistry. And we didn't see any strategic regional outlook from that administration. But within the current administration, we see mutual willingness to promote. But we also didn't forget that in his first tenure, President Trump's particular engagement ensured success of the Trans-Adriatic pipeline. His engagement, his political emphasis made it a reality, but we are very thankful for them. And it also currently effectively contributes to the European energy security. And currently, Azerbaijan, as President Aliyev mentioned, Azerbaijan currently exports its gas to the 8 EU member countries, and 12 European member countries are receiving Azerbaijan gas. And we are looking forward to broaden even geography our relationship. And yet, Special Envoy Mr. Witkoff visited Azerbaijan, and there was a discussion about the regional affairs, including the United States-Azerbaijan cooperation and partnership. But with regard to the Abraham Accords, when a couple of the weeks ago, I was asked by some American journalists, I said that really Abraham Accords, we think that it started with Azerbaijan even back in 1992. Because in back 1992, Azerbaijan established a full diplomatic relation with the State of Israel. And we have a good relations. Therefore, spirit and letter of the Abraham Accords isn't here. What else we can do, please let us know. From that perspective, I think that we can also somehow contribute and to include the current reality of what we see in the Middle East.
Are there any other questions out there? And also, please do send in via Slido, those of you here and those of you who are watching streaming. You're welcome to send in.
And if you allow me, on the Green Corridor,
as
Mr. President mentioned, for the Green Corridor, actually it's also in line with Azerbaijan's overall vision. Along with the energy corridor in the early 90s, we started with the carbohydrate export, and we call it energy connectivity, energy east-west corridor, what we can call it. Now, currently, we are working on the Green Corridor. Green Corridor in a sense that in Azerbaijan, there is a huge capacity, and Azerbaijan's renewable capacity onshore and offshore is around the 200 gigawatt. And with the Georgia, Romania, and Hungary, we decided to establish a sub-Black Sea cable based on the renewables, and Bulgarian friends have also joined to that. Now currently working on a two-dimensional renewable corridor. One can go through the Black Sea, another one Turkey and Bulgaria. Now in the last COP, and we also signed a MOU with our Central Asian friends, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, Trans-Caspian, because Central Asian region also has a renewable. because EU needs a new energy, and EU's market is developing, and EU is also switching towards the new digitalization. New digitalization requires a new electricity capabilities as well. Yeah. And the region of the South Caucasus and Caspian region is geographically close, reliable partners. I think that from that parameters, renewables or green corridor could be yet another new component of the East-West corridor as such.
I didn't realize I'm out of time. I'm so sorry. But one real quick, okay, go ahead, Hüseyin, please. Because integrate this in your answer, is what if suddenly there's peace?
Not
between Ukraine and Russia. What
Ukraine,
if?
Russia. I thought that you think Armenia, Azerbaijan.
What happens? Does this whole thing fall through and then we go back to the old trade? I mean, that was one of your talking points, right, Eleonora?
Yeah, I mean, because geopolitics can be a trigger. It could turn into an obstacle, given that we need so much investment and so much money. What if there is peace and the sense of urgency disappears? But I do think that the regional dynamics that my colleagues explained so well, in a way, can help this projects to go on and to develop, even if there was a peace. Also, it's Russian war against Ukraine is not the only one. You remember the security dynamics in the Red Sea, Trump's tariffs as well, like boosting intra-regional trade. You know, there are other geopolitical factors that we have to factor in.
Have a life of its own, actually, then, despite it all. I guess last word, sorry, Hüseyin,
in September, October, the wine will be now taken, and all the Caucasian countries can produce new wine with new bottles. Okay? This is the opportunity. Do it. By the way, Georgians, Azeris, and the Armenians are very good in this.
Yes.
Yes. Let's have a Rocky after this.
I can confirm.
Yeah. All right. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Hüseyin, Hikmet, Eleonora, and you. Thank you as well. And your job is not done yet. Hashtag GlobeSec 2025. I'm sure you must have heard something just in the past hour. Just cast wider. I'm Chris Burns. See you next time. Now, keep in your seats, because right now in the Albright stage, Cultural Frontlines, an artist's toolkit. It's starting right off right now. Thanks, everybody.